Hello, sports fans. This is Athletics Chat number 67. The gentleman with the earphones in the wire, that's Stuart Weir. He is in Zurich, Switzerland for the, oh no, you are in Zurich, right? Yes, okay. And then my brain is just kind of all over the place. I'm in San Jose, California. Stuart, good to see you, my friend. I heard you had a rather challenging day to get to Zurich.
Yeah, my taxi didn't come and things like that. But hey, we're here. We're ready. We're ready.
Good. So we've got a plethora of topics tonight. Our first one is going to be Brussels. So tell me what are your highlights?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on in Brussels. It was great to see Francine Neon Saba. After she'd had to stop running the 800. Great to see her running the longer distances now and doing well. I mean, it was remarkable to see three Americans in the 100 meters, Fred Shirley, Trayvon Brunel, and Michael Norman, all over 10 seconds. And you might say that only Trayvon is a pure 100-meter runner. Really interesting the way that has developed. And, I'm impressed with Yaroslava, Marika, and Nicola in the women's high jump. The way they just continue competing against each other in Tokyo, in Lausanne, in Paris, in Brussels, and they're going to be in Zurich. Because, I mean, sometimes we've had people avoiding each other, but those three just go at it. And their press conferences are hilarious because in Lausanne, there are some people trying to get them all to answer a question. And, the first one would answer, and the other two would say, yes, I agree. And that's what they were.
I like that.
They obviously respect each other a lot. And amazing jumpers.
Yeah, no, I think one of the untold stories this season has been the women's high jump. And we have three really fine competitors, and actually there's about six, and you throw in Vashti Cunningham from the U.S., and I think she's just on the precipice of doing something big.
Yeah.
But, Lazenskaya, it seems a little off from past years, but it just could be, getting back into the swing of things and competing again, And
something fascinating that Nicola said to me was that in the Olympics, she had Olympic qualifying, she had a perfect series. And she said, I was really glad it went to 195, but I just felt if we could have kept going, I could have went 205 because she was just in the zone, in the rhythm. And it's interesting how you feel that way. And of course, first we can learn from Nicola because, she assesses herself marks out of 10 for different aspects of her jumping. I've heard that Mike goes out to your knee and gives us marks out of 10 in our performance, but fortunately, the world is not getting to see the notes.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that. I'm waiting for the Freedom of Information Act. Maybe the Washington Post or the Guardian will, sue the U.S. government. So Michael has to release those numbers. But I sure hope it's a good day for us,
Yeah.
Nia, I wanted to ask you about Francine and Samba and Christine Baumer. We've had some conversations about this before, and I respect World Athletics for trying to do an even playing field, but I'm not sure there ever can be one.
No.
Christine Mbamwa just ran 21.84. She's run 21.88 for. when we saw her in Tokyo,
Yeah.
there was a time when she was running, like almost looking over at Gabby Thomas and just like trying to figure out what she was doing. And there's so much natural talent there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say, well, this is natural. So the testosterone that she has doesn't affect her if she runs 200 or less, and doesn't affect Francine if she runs 2 miles or more. I think that if we have another year where both of these athletes continue to excel, there's going to be some very tough questions being asked.
I think the technical term for what you have just said is complete nonsense.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah.
I get it. The idea that she's banned from running 400, but it's fine for her to run 200 and beat everybody in sight. And similarly, that clearly and obviously, Francine has got an advantage running the 800, but no talent for the 5,000. I mean, I just think that this is a complicated issue, and let no one think it isn't. Although at times, I mean, I felt the World Athletics had given the impression that they had solved it. It was all simple. But I don't think the solution that we've come up with is satisfactory.
No. Your comment about our friend Safan Hassan. Safan ran 4:14. Her world record is a little north of that. And she admitted to being tired, even with all that caffeine she's been drinking. You know, and when you think about it, she raced 61 kilometers in lovely Tokyo between the 1,500 heats, 5,000 heats, and the 10. And of course she's tired. And she ran a 14:29 over in Eugene. And then she travels halfway around the world. You know, she's got to be beat. And so it's nice to see that she's human. She won by 7 seconds, which tells you something. We have a young American, Josette Norris, who has been running really well. 14:51, excuse me, for 5. 3:59, 1,500, and now another fast race. And then Alicia Monson, the U.S. Athlete from UW-Madison, near where Mike and I are from, just ran 14:42. I think she's number 4 on the list. So some nice performances continued amazing performances by women this summer. You know, whether it be the sprints, the pole vault, the distances. And I don't think that they get enough credit for that. So I'm going to try to do a few columns about some of the women athletes who have just been spectacular. It was also nice to see the King and Queen in Brussels. And that's a big deal. And we've had now 4 meets in a row with actual human crowds, which is kind of a nice thing, you know? I wanted to share a couple things about the American Shelby Houlihan, who, rightly so, some of our European friends have accused Americans of, when we hear about a Kenyan testing positive, we have no doubt about it. But when a white American woman distance runner in the U.S. tests positive, we go, oh my God, we're shocked. And Alan Abrahamson, an American columnist who writes some spectacular columns, he's a professor down at USC, and he tends to get my dander up in many of my cohorts in the athletic biz, because sometimes we don't have the nerve to say what Alan says. Did a very good column on Shelby Houlihan. I'm not sure where I stand on it. what he's asking is for Shelby, now that the CAS has said, you're banned for 4 years, to tell us what she actually did, what happened, because the story is nothing less than a Sherlock Holmes piece. It's not only that she ordered a steak burrito and got a pork one, but it was the pork from an uncastrated boar. And the story gets more spectacular as it goes. And I remember as a child entertaining my family at either Christmas gatherings when I told them that I had gone to Mars the night before, and my story got more and more involved about the blue men and the green men, and my dad told me years later that he was worried about my ability to tell the difference between truth and fiction. My guess is the story with Shelby is somewhere between what Cass says and what she says. I feel bad. I feel bad for any athlete testing positive. But somehow there needs to be a place where people either take responsibility for their actions or go into the sunset. And I remember Randy Barnes back in and I have the 3 hours of tapes. I had a wonderful interview with Randy Barnes in 1990. And this was after the shot putter spent about a half hour playing with my 3-year-old, kicking up dust in a dirt shot put ring. And I was like, how could a guy that nice to kids be anything but just an honest guy? And a few years later, he was banned from the sport. And I've never been able to reconcile those things. And I was asked a couple weeks ago by some college students what I thought about Shelby and what I thought about doping in sports. And I left it at this. I said that anyone is capable of doing good and bad. People rationalize and lie to themselves. I just don't know what's happened here. But Cass is set up, and the system is set up to give people a chance to have their day in court. Shelby had her day in court, and now she's banned. And I don't know what else to do about it. And I think that I'll probably write a column about it, but not there yet, But it's a difficult time, and it's I think you guys had the challenge with Mr. CJ Uja, and but much different. But it's always a tragedy.
I was talking to an athlete who is in Zurich. I won't name the athlete about the CJ situation, and his comment to me was, I never take any supplements because I think by doing that, I'm avoiding a risk.
Yeah. No, I think so. And I also think that if I was coaching athletes, they wouldn't be eating at food trucks. After the Jerry and Lawson thing from a couple of years ago, I would have thought people would have learned. So it's just, it's all, it's all the information we have. So that's all that we can play with. But now you've got Zurich in front of you. And what are you thinking about the Zurich meet?
I think this is phenomenally exciting because, first of all, last year we didn't have a Diamond League final. The previous years, it has been split between Brussels and Zurich. But hey, we have got the final of every Diamond League event.
Wow.
In the city. I think it's something like 9 events on Wednesday and the remaining ones on Thursday. The Wednesday events are in a public square where they built a track and they're doing field events there. and then
Wow.
the rest are going to be in the main stadium on Thursday evening, and it's just going to be all action. I mean, I'm not going to be able to watch it all because so much of it's going to be happening simultaneously.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's. I was in the hotel lobby today. People are still beginning to arrive, and you just look one way, and there's Thomas Walsh, and you look another way, and it's Fred Curley, and you look another way. It's Jasmine Sawyers, and so on. So, I mean, it's just the great and the good of our sport are arriving. Of course, there's some people, and I don't blame them in any way, like Avi Wu and Sidney McLaughlin, who said, you know, the Olympics was enough. I've drawn a curtain on my season. But, you know, there's still an awful lot of good athletes there. And, you know, it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think so too. And that's what the 2-day event's about. So I'm very curious to see this pop-up track that they're putting together, and they've been bragging about that for a couple of weeks. So that should be a real kick. Now, only the field events are being held in there, Stuart. Is that correct?
Say it again.
Only the field events are being held in the pop-up stadium.
No, they're doing. Is it the 5,000?
Wow. Cool. Well, that'll be pretty exciting. There's been some small meets. I mean, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price ran a 10:81, I believe, yesterday, and there's been some. I think 2 meets in Poland and 1 in Italy. And so there's been some really good performances, and so I think that that's just kind of showing the end of the season, you know. And I think we've got some small meets up until about September 15th.
Yeah. Some athletes that I was talking to were saying that there's one thing that a lot of people are finishing their season at.
Yeah, you wonder next year with 3 championships in one summer, how are we going to have a lot of non-championship athletes in the second half of the DL, or what are we going to do? You know, it's going to be, it's going to be interesting.
I mean, I quite like the World Championship being the final event of the season, as it was in Doha. But of course, the World Championship next year is in July. And I would have thought that most athletes are going to go on into August and do Diamond Leagues and so on. I mean, if you're from the Commonwealth, you've got the Commonwealth Games, and if you're European, you've got the European Championships. And if you're British, you know, you've got all 3.
Now, the Commonwealth is between the Worlds and the Euros, right?
So I missed the question.
Are the Commonwealth the second championships of
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. No, I enjoyed that meet immensely. It was a lot of fun to see Chris O'Hare and Dean Asher-Smith, and I think it was Ollie Bradshaw compete there too. And
I mean, in 2014, we had the Commonwealth following the European, and a lot of athletes did both. But what's different this time is that people will have done the Worlds, and then do they do the or do they choose one of them, or do they skip? And of course, the Commonwealth, as I understand it, there's no prize money. So do you do the Commonwealth, or do you do some of the Continental Series, or even Diamond Leagues, where you get...
Yeah, no, you're in. the Commonwealth was warned about that back in 14. They've had years to fix that, but it doesn't seem like they have the financial wherewithal at this time yet.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see just kind of how that's all put together, you know? I'm very curious about that. Talk to me about the fall marathon season is starting up. September 13th, Vienna City Marathon has a pretty good field, men and women. And we've got, within 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have London, Chicago, Boston, Berlin. You know, that's insane. And then we've got New York in its normal place. So this fall, we're going to have all the big ones, you know, except Japan. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a good thing in the sense that it means that running will be center stage, but more difficult for athletes to do more than one. I mean, like when you had some in the spring and some in the fall, it would be feasible for somebody to do one of each.
Yeah. No, it's just it's going to be interesting. I mean, Bekele is pulling this one off where he's doing, what is it, London he's doing 2 marathons within 42 days. And I believe it's New York and Berlin. And I just think he's looking for a good paycheck, but that's asking a heck of a lot.
It is. Yeah.
What is let's go with what's happening in Zurich. What do you think is going to be the most competitive event in the sprints on the men's side?
I just don't know. I mean, I haven't actually seen the final list because we know who has qualified, but not everyone is going to turn up. I bumped into Vernon Norwood today, who's qualified for the 200 and the 400, and tells me he's doing both.
Wow.
So both in the same evening. Yeah, I mean, Trayvon Bromell underperformed at the Olympics, and it'll be interesting to see whether he can put it together and win the Diamond League, or whether those who picked up medals in Tokyo will do so again. I think that'll be quite intriguing. I mean, I can't see anyone beating Warholm, but it'll be nice to see that.
Yeah.
I mean,
is Karsten and Ray competing?
I think so.
Wow. Okay. That's going to be a real highlight. Is Jakob Ingebrigtsen?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the final list is not out. We know who has qualified by getting points to previous ones, but then we know that some of those have just said, well, actually, I'm shutting down my season. I mean, I've heard today, again, not officially, that Shelley-Ann is not coming to Zurich to have a head-to-head with Elaine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought I quoted them in an article, but I think there were wise words from Scott Simpson that we shouldn't try to interpret everything in terms of he did well in Tokyo and therefore he was disappointed with Tokyo, therefore. I think people are at different stages. Not everyone has had a full year's season because of COVID. Not everyone is as well prepared, and there will be some surprises this week. some Olympic champions will win, some Olympic champions will probably be beaten. But I think it's going to be high quality, amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, and I think it may be a very unique year. I think that I think we had 15 months where there were a lot of people who did not compete. And we've had a plethora of world records, and we're equating it all with the shoes. And I'm not going to get into that one. I do think the shoes do play a huge role. Yeah. But I also wonder, when all the elite athletes have the same shoes or shoes similar, isn't that an even playing field? Yeah. So, they all can break it by 10%. But I think that ability to train over the long period of time, the ability for some people to train knowing that they were not going to be drug tested in 15 months, all these things play into it, and it's the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. And that's why our friends at Athletes Integrity Unit are so busy right now. But I also still think that the majority of athletes won't cheat. And I think that integrity that we get by having an independent group, even with the frustrations, because as we all know, we're human. It's just that this whole uncastrated board stuff's taken me so far out of my comfort range. It's not just the word castration; it's just the whole uncastrated board deal. But probably we'll have a problem eating pork for a while. Anyway, now we've gotten to the marathons. We've got you're at Zurich. We'll be covering. I get to watch both days here as long as Peacock TV works. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. So you have your pressers tomorrow, Stuart?
No, the Wednesday presser tomorrow and the Thursday presser on Wednesday, from which you go straight to the city meet.
What's the turnout like of media?
I don't know yet because I haven't actually been in the situation. I'd have thought a lot of people may just be arriving tomorrow. I basically just to come today so that I've got a full day tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. No, I would have done the same thing. Yeah. It's just, that's my old thing about about London Marathon. I really wanted to go to London, but normally London has a week of events and everything's going to be remote, and so one wonders how that's all going to work, and
But just on the number of press, I would be surprised if there's anyone else from written press there apart from me. I may be wrong. I think I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think our friend David Monty will probably be there from the U.S. And maybe the brothers Johnson from Let's Run. Hey, and everybody keep Sean Hartnett, the professor of the marathon, in your thoughts and prayers. Sean found out about a month ago that he was dealing with cancer. He's in treatment right now. He felt good enough this last week to do a radio show of some cool music in Wisconsin. But Sean is one of those absolutely delightful people in the sport, a fine coach. He does these incredible maps showing topography on elite marathons and showing you how the races have been won. And many of you have seen his work in American Track and Field magazine and Athletes Only, some of our pubs. But just found out on Facebook last week, and he has been instrumental in my acceptance in Wisconsin track and field by coaches and athletes. Just a beloved figure in our sport. So please please keep him and his lovely family in your thoughts and prayers. He'll persevere, but he's going through a tough challenge. So I just wanted to get that in there. You know who I wanted to bring up? I just saw our friend Ryan Krauser through in Poland yesterday, 22:39. What is it that makes Ryan so special, Stuart?
Well, I mean, I asked him in Lausanne 2 questions. How do you manage to be so consistent? And his answer was, I found a technique that works. And he started with a very interesting question or on the point that beforehand there were not, in his words, very many tall men who rotated. And so he didn't really have a role model. And so he had come up with his own technique and seems to be able to keep producing it consistently. Now, my other question was, why do you wear a cowboy hat? And he gave me 2 answers to that. One was that he had a picture of himself as a little boy with a cowboy hat 17 sizes too big for him, with his face. And so he thought he wore it once, people liked it, and now people recognize him because he wears a cowboy hat. And he did also mention University of Texas.
Yeah.
Past. So there you are. Now you know why he wears the cowboy hat, and it's the technique that makes him so good.
Well, I think that's the example of investigative journalism, Stuart, that we've come to expect from you. So thank you, dear friend. I think that's a big deal. Were you surprised? I didn't get to ask you about this. This is a totally random. The women's long jump in Tokyo was a fantastic event. You know, you had Malaika Mahambo, you had Tara Davis, you had Brittany Reese, and it came down again to the last jump. Did that event surprise you at all?
In the last 2 rounds, Eddie Brumey led, then Brittany Reese, in apparently her last ever long jump competition, took the lead, secured the gold medal, only for Mahambo, who had not been as impressive as usual this year, to a 7-meter jump, the last jump to take the gold. So a phenomenally exciting competition, and was good.
You have been following the Paralympics for the last 8 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Share with us a couple of things that many of us don't know about the Paralympics.
And all I'm saying, I've not followed as closely as I wanted to because it's on in the middle of the night and it's just with all the Diamond Leagues going on. But Marcus Rem, again, jumping a distance with his prosthetic, which would have got him, I think, in the top 4 in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Steph Reed coming 4th in the women's amputee long jump, having put together the best series she'd ever done. But again, for the first time ever, 2 women with prosthetics cleared 6 meters. So just phenomenal performances. David Weir came 5th in the marathon. Tatiana McFadden didn't win a gold medal apart from in the relay. So, some of the old guard may just be being replaced.
Yeah, I think that it's phenomenal to me to see some of the sprinters, and he did about 4 really nice stories. I still have one to post on the long jump. With some great pictures. I'll get that up. But I encourage people, when you get a chance, to do replay of some of the Paralympics. It's pretty inspiring. And it was nice to see Tatiana McFadden do well again after her health issues. And so I think that's pretty exciting. But so, Stuart, we're a year and a half into this pandemic, and you and I have had to wear masks all over the place, including in our hotel room.
Yeah.
Is this going to become a way of life for us? Or are we going to see an end to this? Or is it just going to be kind of, there'll be a slower time, and then we'll have to be careful again? Where do you think it's going?
It's so hard to say. And, it's unpredictable, because while it is true that mainly the elderly have died from it, one knows of athletes who have been knocked sideways by it.
Yeah.
Lots of training. And people having to pull out of events and so on. So I would like to think that it's less of an issue. But, I remember when the World Athletics called off the 2020 World Indoors in China. And we thought this was some little local issue in China.
Yeah.
I believed that we'd be talking about something that we thought would be over in March 2020. We'd still be talking about it in September 2021 and asking, will it affect 2022?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I had just gotten back from Dubai. Was enjoying the New Balance indoor meet, and had all our hotels taken care of for the European indoor tour that I was going to take. And one of my son's buddies called me, who was working on the pandemic, and just said, "You are not getting on an airplane," and we canceled. And I haven't been to Europe since now 2019. That's been the longest in almost 25 years. And it's I'm missing the travel of people and our friends. And I thought about going to London, but not just for a day. And I don't know what I'm considering going to Portugal later in the year after New York, take a little bit of time for a break. But I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. So,
well, the problem I find with it is that every time I fly, I'm nervous as to whether I've got the right documentation to get me into the country or to get back into Britain. And the rules change. Certainly we have had situations where people went on vacation to Portugal, and then suddenly the government changed the rules and said, unless you're back within 48 hours, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. This kind of thing. And I couldn't go to Belgium because I wanted to go to Belgium for 3 days. So I was going to have to quarantine for 2 in order to go for 3. So it just wasn't worth it. So it is still a very difficult situation. I don't know if we need 2 tests or just 1 while I'm in Switzerland. I need to find that out tomorrow. It's difficult. It's fraught.
Yeah. Well, I want you to stay safe, my friend. And so ends Athletics Chat 67. We will be able to talk to you about Zurich and many other things next week. But thank you for traveling and covering. You've written over 125,000 words, I believe, this year for us, and continue to enjoy your columns. And thank you for that and your love of the sport. And
okay, thank you.
These are fun. And thanks to Mike Deering, our production manager, who manages us both so deftly and so thoughtfully without tasers. No lizards or insects were injured in this broadcast. Stay safe, everybody.
Thanks.
Well, hello, sports fans. This is your favorite program in a program. This is Athletics Chat 67 Epilogue, the clip. Not clickbait, the clip. Although I'm watching clickbait, and it's actually quite good. It's on Netflix. Check it out. Anyway, today, Stuart's in Zurich. He took the whole day to travel from lovely Oxford, the intellectual capital of the world, to Zurich, the chocolate capital. Although there is some challenge between whether Zurich or Brussels is the chocolate capital. Mondo Duplantis was concerned about it too, because he has chocolate up in, lovely Sweden too. And that's supposed to be pretty good. But I digress. So Zurich is the capo de tutti frutti of the Diamond League season. There'll be 32 events. Every event is being decided. There'll be some athletes missing, but if you want to play, you have to sing. As Steve Forberg used to say, the troubadour. And there'll be some great events. The 400 hurdles. We think there's Karsten and Rye, Mondo Duplantis, need I say more? Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Faith Tepiegan. Okay, and I'll tell you this, men's 400, Mike Cherry, 4403. Awesome. Fred Curley, you are just kicking butt as a spinner. And we're not sure Shelly Ann's going to be there, but Shelly Ann Fraser-Price, you had a killer season, ending with 81 in, I believe, it was Italy yesterday. Ryan Krauser went 22:39 in the shot in polo. I don't think that was with the I think it's Sans cowboy hat. I've asked him about throwing with the cowboy hat on, and he said it flies sometimes. And think of Sister Bertrill from The Flying Nun. Okay. Anyway, pole vault should be good. Long jump should be good. Distance races, sprints. It's going to be great. Peacock TV and NBC Sports in the U.S. have it on. What is it like? Wednesday and Thursday. So it's going to be good stuff. So make sure you check it out. And then there's some small esoteric meets in northern Italy, which should be a lot of fun too. Okay? Make sure you support these meets. It's really, really important. So we talked about meets. We talked about the London Marathon coming up. And in fact, Vienna Marathon starts September 13th, and then you've got Vienna, you've got Berlin, you've got London. Then on the same weekend, you've got Chicago and Boston. I don't know how the heck they figure that out. Totally drives me crazy. But I've done it with London and in Boston before, so we'll have to see. And then we've got the New York City Marathon. So everything but Tokyo, all the biggies, in a very short period of time. Would have loved to have gone to all of them. Just in this day and age, it's just not safe nor possible. So we'll have to see how things go. So we talked about the marathons. We talked about Brussels. We talked a little bit about Lausanne. We talked about some of our favorite athletes. And pressers will be tomorrow for Wednesday, Wednesday for Thursday. Wednesday meet's going to be in a pop-up stadium, mostly field events, but the 5,000 as well. And then on Thursday, almost all running events. Should be a lot of fun. Stuart's going to be covering it for us. I'll be covering it from here. I think you'll enjoy it. Watch for some of our other columns, including Will Lear talking about Under Armour's all-out mile that's coming up. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So stay safe. When you go indoors, wear a mask, exercise, hydrate, communicate with your friends, send notes. Postcards are still fun to do. And send stuff to people and tell them where you want to go if you're not able to travel right now. But stay safe. That's the most important thing. And then the second most important thing is to watch, read, and communicate on RunBlogRun, your favorite platform for athletics. That means track and field, race walking, cross country, and road racing. We love them all, baby. Thanks to Mike Tierney again. He's our program director, and he tries to manage me, and it's a 12-step program. My son could have told him that. My brother could have told him that. Hell, my parents did. My mom said she and I ended in a draw. Anyway, stay safe. Talk to you soon.